The set of The View turned unexpectedly tense when Mark Wahlberg, who had joined the panel to promote his upcoming film, found himself caught in a fiery exchange with none other than Whoopi Goldberg. What was expected to be a lighthearted segment quickly turned uncomfortable as the tone shifted from casual to confrontational in a matter of minutes. Mark entered the stage with his usual relaxed, confident demeanor, exchanging pleasantries with the hosts and sharing a few laughs. But the mood began to shift subtly as Whoopi introduced a topic that wasn't on the pre-approved list: Mark's troubled past and his controversial history from his early years. Her tone, pointed and direct, took the actor by surprise as she asked whether someone with his kind of background would still be given a second chance in today's Hollywood. The audience fell into a hushed silence, sensing something wasn't right. Mark, initially composed, tried to navigate the conversation by emphasizing redemption, personal growth, and the importance of moving forward. But Whoopi was not having it. Mark calmly stated that he's never hidden from his past, and that he spent years giving back to the community, supporting at-risk youth, and using his platform to promote change. But Whoopi pressed harder, suggesting that maybe not everyone gets the kind of forgiveness he received. Her words were loaded, hinting at the role race and privilege may have played in his ability to bounce back from early criminal charges. That's when the energy changed entirely. Mark's smile faded, his posture stiffened, and the tension between them became palpable. It was no longer an interview, it was a confrontation. The studio audience shifted uneasily in their seats as Mark responded with frustration, saying he was there to discuss his present, not to be pulled back into narratives that he had already addressed and worked through. Whoopi didn't back down, insisting that public figures must be held accountable, not just once, but continuously. It was clear the two weren't going to find common ground. When Sunny Hostin tried to shift the conversation back to Wahlberg's current projects, hoping to diffuse the rising temperature in the room, Whoopi cut back in with a follow-up that reopened the wound, asking Mark whether his faith, she often speaks about, had anything to say about privilege and justice. Mark paused, visibly taken aback. He said that faith was about forgiveness, learning, and rising above past mistakes, that dragging people down forever doesn't align with the values of growth and second chances. But the mood had already soured beyond recovery. What had started as a question about redemption had turned into an uncomfortable debate about privilege, public perception, and whether some celebrities were being granted an easier path to forgiveness than others. It wasn't a question Mark was unprepared to address, but the aggressive tone and timing had clearly pushed him to his limit. He took a deep breath, leaned forward, and said, "I came here in good faith. But this feels more like a trap than a conversation." The crowd, unsure of how to react, offered a few scattered claps of support, but mostly remained silent, watching closely to see what would happen next. Joy Behar tried to lighten the moment with a joke, but it fell flat. Mark's face had turned serious, and the playful energy he brought at the beginning of the segment had completely vanished. He looked directly at Whoopi and said, "If this is what you wanted to do today, you got it," and began removing his microphone. The producers, watching from the wings, were clearly unprepared for what was happening. There was no commercial break planned, and the camera kept rolling as Mark stood up, gave a short nod to the rest of the panel, and quietly exited the set. The tension was so thick, it felt like even the studio lights dimmed. Whoopi remained seated, unmoved, while the other co-hosts exchanged concerned glances, unsure whether to address what had just happened or pretend it was all part of the plan. Backstage sources later confirmed that Mark had been assured the interview would remain focused on his film and charity work. His team had submitted clear talking points, and the sudden pivot to his past, especially delivered in such a confrontational tone, was viewed as a breach of agreement. Once backstage, Wahlberg reportedly told a staff member that he'd been through too much and worked too hard to be ambushed like that, and left the studio without participating in any further press engagements. Meanwhile, Whoopi, when asked by producers whether she wanted to address what happened, calmly stated, "I said what I felt needed to be said." The View's production team scrambled to decide whether to edit the confrontation out of re-airings or leave it untouched, knowing full well the viral storm that was about to erupt online. Asterisk, and erupt it did. Social media exploded within minutes of the walk-off. Hashtags like hashtag Wahlberg walks and hashtag Whoopi V's Mark trended across Twitter and Instagram. Clips of the clash were posted and reposted, sparking heated debates about cancel culture, second chances, and whether public figures can ever truly escape their past. Some defended Whoopi's hardline questioning, arguing that accountability isn't a one-time event. Others slammed the segment as an ambush and praised Wahlberg for standing up for himself and walking out. News outlets jumped on the story instantly, with panel discussions, op-eds, and think pieces popping up within hours. Every detail of the encounter was dissected. Whoopi's tone, Mark's reaction, the co-host's silence fueling a cultural debate that stretched far beyond the set of a daytime talk show. Asterisk, in Hollywood, reactions were mixed. Some insiders sympathized with Wahlberg, acknowledging that while his past is part of his story, it shouldn't overshadow his current work and efforts at personal growth. Others felt he overreacted, suggesting that a more composed response could have turned the moment into a powerful conversation about change and redemption. Publicists across town privately warned their clients to reconsider appearing on The View, without stronger agreements in place about acceptable topics. Meanwhile, Whoopi received both praise and backlashes, some calling her brave for not letting celebrity status shield difficult questions, while others accused her of using the show as a platform for personal attacks. The clash exposed a broader conversation in the entertainment industry. Where does tough journalism end and provocation begin? Asterisk, amid the media storm, Mark Wahlberg issued a brief statement through his representative, saying that he respects journalism and tough questions, but there is a difference between accountability and hostility. He reiterated his commitment to transparency and growth, while also emphasizing the need for respectful dialogue. Whoopi did not issue a separate statement, but addressed the issue on the following day's show, saying only, "When people come on this platform, they know what to expect. We ask real questions." The View's ratings spiked after the incident, proving once again that controversy, no matter how uncomfortable, drives attention. However, internally, tensions remained. The show's producers held an emergency meeting to review guest guidelines and communication protocols, attempting to avoid similar disasters in the future. Asterisk, in the days that followed, the incident remained one of the most talked about moments in daytime television. Pundits debated whether the interview was a public service or a setup. Fans took sides, and fellow celebrities chimed in, some defending Wahlberg, others applauding Whoopi. The divide highlighted an ongoing cultural tension. How do we balance growth with accountability? And at what point does public inquiry cross the line into humiliation? Mark Wahlberg's walk-off wasn't just a viral moment, it became a symbol of that unresolved struggle between celebrity image, past misdeeds, and the unforgiving nature of public discourse. For both Mark and Whoopi, the moment is unlikely to be forgotten anytime soon, etched into pop culture as yet another reminder that in the world of unscripted television, anything can happen, and often does.